everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the markets in EVE Online. And I must say I've had a pretty good week in EVE so far. My Machina is making me a nice 6 million ISK for a full load. And I found a few fire outposts that dropped some nice faction pieces. So I must say for the amount that I've played, I've made a good amount of ISK. So let's go and take a look at the market, of course, for this week. I'm really curious to see if the mineral trend is going to hold up. So let's start with plex. I'm writing down 35 seconds for that. And this is actually the chart already. 723 for the buyers, 732 for the sellers. So this feels up a little bit from last week. And if we go for, let's take the 3-month chart here, you can see that it did in fact, after the dip below 730, close to 725 last week, it corrected back up a little bit. Still the 20-day moving average is being dragged down. It just dipped below 730 million ISK, and if I look at the tail end here, it's already correcting back. So it looks like 730 might be the current consensus price for plexes, which historically is pretty high. You need a good amount of time investment in EVE at the moment in order to plex your account. Considering what I did last week, though, it feels very doable. If you know a little bit of what you're doing, you've got some Tech 2 ships that you can fly for some specific professions. It still does feel doable, but yeah, historically these are pretty high prices for plex. One thing I think that is going to be very important in determining whether or not we will see a correction this summer is how CCP handles the Cryos release and the subsequent releases after that. The summer is generally a time where people do take a break. Guys like Arvalis in my own corporation take a break every summer to spend some time with their family or go on a trip and stuff like that. So this is something that does happen to EVE every year. The question is, can the releases keep either new players coming in or old players so interested that they actually decide to not take their break? And if that happens, they will be able to maintain very high plex prices. If on the other hand the yearly summer slump, I would call it, happens, then we might actually see a pullback that could be reinforced by the huge ISK sink that I'm expecting from the industry changes. So it's going to be an interesting time. I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on the plex market. Honestly, if we do see a pullback to something like 650 or something like that, you know, if I would have to put a number on what I would consider to be a worthy pullback, I would be looking at something like 650 million ISK. Then I might be buying some plexes myself. Because honestly, EVE Online is still growing with interesting stuff like Legion on the horizon. I do think that EVE has yet to have its best days ahead of it, its best expansions as well, with stuff like new systems, destructible outposts. I think that's going to bring a lot of nullsec bitter vets back. All of this is planned. It's still very long term, but I do think that EVE still has its best days ahead of it, and so if you can still snag up some plexes on the cheap after a pullback, that would be a golden opportunity in my opinion. And yeah, I do hope it's going to materialize this summer. I think two things can actually help make this happen: A, this summer, where people do take breaks, and B, the ISK sink that CCP is going to introduce with Cryos because of the changes to industry. It's going to be interesting in my opinion. Let's have a look at minerals next. Let's start off with titanium here. We're talking 415 for that. And current prices 624 for the buyers, 626 for the sellers, so no margin whatsoever. The best chart for minerals at the moment, I do think, is the 1-month chart, where we can see that after reaching 635, even 645 on some data points, titanium has pulled back did pull back a little bit to 620, something like that. 20-day moving average flattening out as well towards 625. So it is possible that this is a new consensus price for titanium, where we'll see a bit more of a stable market. But like I've just seen right here, 1 billion units, 1.3 billion units, very recent orders. 0.01 is king each other, 623, 624. So there is still competition for titanium even in the buy orders market, with really big numbers, way bigger than anything you're seeing on the sell order side. And they're still pushing the price up. So these two big orders, if this trend continues, we might see titanium bounce off the 620 price point and continue an ascent further. One thing that one of my viewers just actually notified me about as well, it's something to keep in mind. What is happening at the moment is a lot of people are keeping their ores, especially in high sec, so that they can compress them when cryos hit, and they can then be exported to null sec, where the best yield for this titanium will be. Now overall we should still see a decline in refining yields, because you can no longer reach 100% efficiency even with full skills. But if people are indeed hoarding their ores at the moment, we might see a huge flood of new minerals from the hoarding that's happening now come to the market, which could mean a correction in the price. This is a scenario that I had not really considered just yet, but Thalia did send me an email about it, and is absolutely right. This is a scenario that you should keep in mind as well when looking at the current trend in mineral prices. Let's have a look at pyrite. This one has been counter to pretty much all the other minerals or high-sec minerals so far. Really pulled back from 12.55 at the beginning of the month to 11.95. So it did break 12 ISK, which is I think a pretty important event. Let's have a look at supply demand here. 32 million, 60 million, pretty much 100 million here. You're looking at 100 million, 420 million, and 131 million. So the buy orders are a little bit bigger than the sell orders, but the competition seems to be below 12 ISK, which is a little bit weird to me at least. People are 0.1 isking each other. Again here 11.97 for the buy orders, 11.99 for the sell orders. So there is no margin whatsoever. It's really supply demand, I think, that is heavily dictating the prices of these high-sec minerals at the moment. I'm seeing a little bit more demand than supply still in pyrite. I've been seeing that for the last month or so, yet the price has been declining. So I think someone is still trying to dump their pyrite stocks and bringing the price down. Someone is maybe doing something to pyrite, because this is counter to what we've seen in titanium, in Mexalon and Isogen so far. So this is pretty interesting. It's definitely cutting edge. We're seeing a little bit more demand than supply, not by that much. It's definitely much more outspoken in titanium. But yeah, pyrite has been correcting quite a little bit. If I go for the 6-month chart, it did know an extremely sharp rise towards 1360, but this is pretty much the opposite of titanium. So there's definitely something different about pyrite. If you know what it is, feel free to post it in the comments. Honestly, I have no clear answer for you, but it's definitely different. If you look at these two charts, something different happened to pyrite, causing it to still rise. You know, here we start at maybe 1150. We're still looking at 12 ISK on the chart. But it's a little different. It's a bit weird in my opinion. Let's move on to Mexalon then. Let's go for the 1-month chart. That one's all pretty interesting. Honestly, this is quite reminiscent of the pyrite chart here, and this is timed with the big null-sec Titan destruction. This could be a part of it, but here at least we can see that Mexalon is taking back off after hitting 48.60. So here prices are going up. We've seen 145 million, 145 million, 14 million, 86 million. So there is more demand than supply. even for stuff like Mixalon. The competition is pretty fierce here. All of these orders are pretty recent, going from 48.39 up to 48.77, so that there's definitely an upward pressure in the price of Mixalon here at the moment, and it is materializing, although we're just at the cusp of it materializing. It does look to me like Mixalon is going to start going up here. Supply is no longer there. It's going to be a race up towards 50 ISK, I think, because here these are pretty small numbers on the sell orders here that may be picked up pretty quickly, and then we need to be at 50 ISK before we really see the first big order of 354 million units. So yeah, I think Mixalon is due for an uptrend, whereas Pyrite is not, although yeah, both of these charts are pretty reminiscent of one another. I do feel, if you look at the 6-month chart here, that Mixalon has tried a little bit harder to maintain this high price of 51 ISK. You know, it did correct right here, but after that we've known maybe 2 months or so of increased prices in Mixalon. It's only been correcting in the last month or so, and it's already going to start pulling back after breaking 49 ISK. So I do feel it's a different situation to Pyrite, despite, well, Pyrite has managed to maintain itself at 1260 pretty well, but I mean it's dumping right back down here at the tail end, much more than what we're seeing here in Mixalon, that has corrected but is already pulling back up. So it's definitely not a uniform market. This is Isogen. Let's have a look. Maybe, yeah, first at the trend here, 126 to 132. Definitely a general uptrend, but again a correction at the tail end here. So this is pretty interesting. I did not see this trend. Maybe, yeah, the email telling me to what might be going on has caused me to have a bit more of an open mind. So here again, Isogen heading towards 131. It broke back out towards 134, but it's already correcting back towards 131. Current prices 129.63 for the buyers, 131.89 for the sellers. And are we seeing more supply than demand? Well, actually 9 million units, 1.6 million units. It's much more in balance than what we're seeing in Tritanium, I have to be honest. In this Isogen, Mixalon and Pyrite, the supply-demand situation does feel a lot more balanced than what's happening with Tritanium, where there's just absolutely huge numbers coming in on the buyer side that are nowhere near, we see nowhere near the same orders in the sell orders. In stuff like Isogen, Mixalon and Pyrite, it's a lot better. So maybe some people have huge stocks of them and are actually taking these increased prices as opportunities to get rid of some of it. Overall, it's pretty interesting to see how a lot of them have corrected in the last week and in the last month. Let's have a look then at the null sequence. Zydrine, it's definitely yeah, correcting quite substantially. So 615 to 622 for the 1 month chart, holding steady for like 3 weeks at 690 and now 610 ISK. That's a serious drop and not insignificant. This is pretty sharp, and percent-wise in price is not insignificant. Let's have a look at Megasite then. Similar charts, a little bit more of a steady decline, but going from 1580 to 1400 ISK. It's yeah, pretty big. Let's have a look at Morphite here, also declining from 6900 to 6400. That's almost a 10% loss. It's not nothing. And then Noxium, what has that one been doing? Also declining from 655 to 705, a 50, maybe something like 6-7% decline. So yeah, the high sequence are definitely correcting. If I go for the 6-month chart on these as well, yeah, this one is almost falling off a cliff. Let's have a look at the Zydrine chart. Has been declining for quite a bit. In fact, in the last 6 months, it's even below the point that it was 6 months ago. And a Megasite is in a similar situation. Maybe this action is pulling the other ones down as well a little bit. Why is this happening? It's really hard to say, because I think that the reprocessing yields of loot is definitely taking a huge hit. reprocessing in general should take a little bit of a hit, but maybe people have been doing some calculation when it comes to like reprocessed, not reprocessed but compressed ore, and seeing that overall the situation with what nullsec could do on maximum yields, that it might not be that bad. Maybe we are seeing an increased activity in mining in nullsec as well. If some of those alliances are at the moment, they're not in big wars, if they're in consolidation modes, yeah, they might actually be trying to attract miners to nullsec to get increased yields, take advantage of both a local supply of ore and the best yields in nullsec. It might just have enticed nullsec alliances to really try to ramp up their industrial capabilities, their mining capabilities, and this could be one of the reasons why the nullsec ones have been declining for quite a little bit. The highsec ones have been lagging behind a little bit, have responded in a different way, but are now also starting to correct, because nullsec alliances might just be starting to get their flow of typical highsec ores started as well, where stuff like isogen, mexalon and pyrite are also very much being supplied to them as well. It's a possibility, you know. It might just be a complete change to the mining and industry landscape that is going to have its impact right here, and we're seeing the market response to all of the dev blogs, all of the changes that are coming, the testing, and maybe also to nullsec alliances changing stuff around a little bit as well. I think it's pretty damn interesting, and it's going to be very interesting once it actually all starts to hit STQ, I think. Let's move on to the Tech 1 chips here. I'm honestly expecting a bit more of a stable market here. We did see Drake break out last week, but it is correcting back towards 48 million ISK. At the moment 47 for sellers, 46.6 for buyers, so very small margin. Supply demand, 20 of them coming in at 47 million. There's a little bit more demand, but as I've said, I do think people have been producing a lot of stuff at the moment to take advantage that we don't have to pay that much ISK just yet for their production, and they are then bringing stuff to the market when we have a breakout like this, trying to take advantage of some higher prices, and this has materialized here, although it did take a bit more than a week for the market to actually respond to prices of Drakes breaking 50 million ISK. But overall, if we go for a 6-month chart, since March, this is actually a lot more stable than what we see in minerals. So here again, stocks might be accumulated at the moment. Keep that in mind as well. Here again, the Maelstrom, it did break out, reaching 210 million, but it's correcting back to 190 million, which is pretty much again a stable situation since March. And if we take a quick look at supply here, 14 of them coming in, 20 of them coming in. So it is definitely, people saw increases in prices in Tech 1 chips, but they had the supply ready, they brought them to the market, and now it's correcting back to pretty much a normal situation. Let's have a look at the Omen. Here we can clearly see since March it did know a slump, it corrected back, and it's been pretty much stable in the last few months. This is the rock chart then. Here I would say it's pretty much the same. If you take the March price point, maybe a little bit later here, 200 million ISK for a rock seems to be what we're looking at. Overall, this is pretty stable. It knew two spikes here. Right now it's correcting back, so I would suspect that we see a bit more of a drying up. Yep, here we go. Demand is a little bit less, 111. We're seeing these small numbers. Probably the big supply did come in at like 215 here, but it's been a little while now. It's dried up a little bit. We're looking at a decently well supplied market in all of these ships. People have the stocks to respond to any increases in price, and so until crisis hits, where maybe after a while we might either see a dumping of all of the stocks, or on the other hand we might just see people continuing this movement. It's only going to have really a potentially a change, I think, once crisis actually hits. And then here we have Talos again. Overall, you know, this is a 6-month chart, it's not insignificant, and we're still hanging at the 74-75 million price mark. It did start a little bit lower than that, but all of this, you know, this definitely increase in price, responding the market response with increase in supply. Here we're again 78 million, a little bit high maybe, but here 26 of them coming in, which is way bigger than what we're seeing on the buy order side. So people are keeping a close eye on this. This is a healthy market, well supplied market, and I think it's only going to change after crisis hits and we actually do start to see the impact of either stock dumping, increase in price for production, stuff like that. Let's move on to the Tech 2 market, which is at 20 minutes. Actually, I've been going pretty in-depthly for this Eve talk. Let's have a look here if we have some opportunities. Absolution, that's definitely sell opportunity territory. Look at that, 250 million for the sell orders. That's really pretty damn high. If you see that just like 2 months ago, you could have bought them below 200 million ISK. Let's have a look at the Astarte, also working on a pretty damn high price point here. You had buying opportunities as close as 215, and here again heading 245, 250. Let's have a look at the Claymore then. Whoa, that one took off. Look at that. You had a nice buying opportunity below 210 million for quite a while. Look at that takeoff. We're currently looking at 275 million on the sell orders. If the buy orders jumped up towards 233, if you did decide to buy Claymores over here, personally, I would have never really recommended it because of how stable the Claymore had seemed for so long. But look at his behavior, it's pretty much awesome, showing the trade potential of these Tech 2 ships. Maybe in fact I might want to go for the 1 month chart, just have a quick look at how fast this is. 8th of June, it did pick up right there from 210 to 260 million. So that is, yeah, just a few weeks. Huge movement right here that has materialized. Huge trade potential in these Tech 2 command ships here. Damnation then is starting to correct after its big jump up, heading towards 260 million. Honestly, I think we're still in sell order territory. Look at the EOS, that's pretty damn sharp, heading from 335 to 305, but you had buying opportunities at 280 million. So all of these have known a pretty significant spike. The Guardian one materialized. I said last week I would consider buying Guardians at the moment. You could probably have picked them up below 130 million. Look at that, buy orders jumping up to 142, sell orders 147, a nice little jump right here. The opportunity has passed, but I do think that I managed to warn you guys last week. I would have definitely, or maybe 2 weeks ago, when it was really low, starting to brush with 130, that was definitely a time to buy, and look again, it did materialize. So pretty interesting market here. Look at that, the Nighthawk correcting back towards 240 million. Still, you could have bought them at like 230, so the spiky behavior is there. Sleipnir, look at that, taking off after breaking 230 again. We're currently looking at 262 million for a Sleipnir, not bad. And then the Vulture, yeah, working on its second spike. So we are definitely in pretty heavy water, pretty rough water in the Tech 2 market. A lot of them are spiking up incredibly. Even the Guardian, which has been stable for a little bit, trending down, broke 130, shooting back up. And then the Claymore one is really the one that surprised me the most here, being pretty damn steady at 200 to 210 million price band, and now taking off like that. There is a lot going on in the Tech 2 markets. I still see a lot of this as trade potential. Just look at these charts. You can make and lose. Granted, you can lose a lot of money here as well. But if you try to keep an eye on this, try to find the right buying opportunities here with the Guardian, you could have made an easy 10-15 million on every Guardian that you had bought in the last 2 weeks or so. And I do think that I managed to pinpoint this as well right there, especially for the Guardian. If I had a bit more time, I would have risked it. You know, a few times I was like, should I take a trip to Jeddah, buy a few Guardians? Maybe I really should, but I've been more busy with actually playing the game a little bit, doing some exploration, doing some mining, being a little bit on CC. But if I had a little bit more time, I do think I would have grabbed this opportunity myself. Let's move on to the Tech 3 market, 2410 for that. That one is, yeah, in a huge slump. Look at that, Legion seemingly breaking the 120 million mark. I never would have thought we would see that, but you're still seeing 21 of them coming in below 120 million ISK. Extremely low, extremely oversupplied. Loki 125 million here again. After trying to reach 138, supply just came right back, broke the price below 125, and even out 29, 21, 28, 10. These are more than 100 units being brought to the markets at 126 to 125. Competition is still right here on the sell orders. People are not buying these Tech 3 ships. Proteus then 88 units, so we might have seen a little bit of a spike, yeah, coming from 127 trying towards 130. Unfortunately, 88 units coming in at 128, 27 units coming in at 128. This market is so oversupplied, it's yeah, it really should make you cry actually. If you go for a 1 month chart, 1 year chart, look at that, that's really bad. And even here in Tengu market, 69 units, 60 units, 70 units, nowhere near that in the buy orders. So there is really no reason to think that is going to change anytime soon. So yeah, all of these charts look pretty similar. Look at that, going from like 200 million to 125, pretty much cut in half. All of these Tech 3 ships have been, and it honestly, if I were producing this, I'd be pretty damn depressed. Still, one thing is to keep in mind, at some point Tech 3 ships will be rebalanced by CCP. Depending on what happens then, this could be a very good investment at the moment. I mean, you can buy Legions below 120 million right now through sell orders. That's incredible. Honestly, that's pretty incredible. Changes to wormhole space, changes to Tech 3 ships could make this a humongously good investment. I will admit it's pretty damn risky, but it has some potential if you look at that 1 year chart. Pretty interesting stuff. Now finally, let's put down 2630 for the extra materials or extra goods that I always check. I want to have a look at the assembly arrays. The reason for that is, let's see here, structures, starbase is this dev block that was posted where having multiple arrays of the same type, let's say medium ship construction array, is going to give you a further decrease in the price of actually manufacturing this stuff. And I do think this might have impacted the market. If I'm wrong on that, that's a possibility as well, and I want to check that out. So let's start maybe with some of the small ones. Let's go for small ship assembly array. Did that one take off the 1 month chart? There's a little bit of a response, not as big as what I had expected. Oh, it's actually down as well. It's already correcting back, so no, not a response. Actually, I have to be honest here, not really seeing a response. Medium ship assembly array, yeah, maybe a little bit. Right here, 53 to 61, yeah, and still taking off. Maybe a little bit of a response here. Large ship assembly array, not really seeing the response here. 64 down to 57. This is pretty interesting, honestly. Maybe I should start looking at a 6 month chart and see if all of this is still well within its normal variations. Honestly, here it looks like it is. This did take off, but historically the price has been way higher than what we had here. So small one, not really seeing a big movement. Let's have a look at some of these advanced ones then. All of this feels pretty stable. This is surprising to me. So yeah, makes it maybe the ammunition assembly array taking off. Capital ship assembly array, yeah, pretty damn stable, honestly. Okay, I have to be honest here. I expected a response, a movement. So if you wanted to have like the absolute biggest discount because of this new bonus that was announced here, you would need something like 13 medium ship assembly arrays, or there's 2 other ones you can mix in, but potentially you need 13 medium ship assembly arrays to get the cheapest price for building them. I would have expected that demand for these things would have exploded because of that. People would have hoarded them, just trying to get their bosses filled with these to take advantage of these discounts. But it seems like I completely overestimated the response from players to this new mechanic, and for now I'm definitely not seeing the response in the assembly array market. This also means that my fear, and there was some fear that I had expressed, that people might be taking advantage of the ability to like offline them or even unanchor these extra modules while the job is running to have no risk and still take advantage of a full discount, that could really end up being a problem if people did this too much. That might just be unfounded, because if I look at the response from the market here, people are not actually stocking up on huge amounts of these assembly arrays just to try and create a system that takes full advantage of that. So it might just be that economically it's not going to be viable. You may need like tens of thousands of ships just to get rid of the cost of the investment you're going to make here, and thus people might just not be that interested in actually playing such games at the moment, especially if CCP might still plug that hole as well. So yeah, I may have overestimated the impact of this new mechanic by quite a bit, because if I look at the market response, some of them are up a little bit, but all of them are still well within the boundaries of the last 6 months. So I would say, yeah, this is looking like people are saying, okay, this new mechanic of adding similar types of arrays providing you a discount, it's going to come, but people don't seem to be either too worried or too excited about it. Pretty interesting. Anyways, that's it for this EVE Talk then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.